Freak Nation, Ida Zetterstrom is back in the Freak Nation. Good to have her in here. A number of reasons we want to talk to her. First of all, coming up on the 8th of March, it is International Women's Day, and what you've done in your short career in a top fuel car needs recognition, not just inside the circle of the NHRA fans, but really outside of the circle and what you've done to accomplish this. Ida, do you find yourself from time to time needing to pat yourself on the back for what you've done in a top fuel rail versus people in the public that say, "Hey, nice job"?
Well, I feel like we'll only, scratch the surface of what we can do yet. So I have a hard time, sitting down and patting myself on the back for that, because I feel like there's still so much more to do. Not taking away from anything that we have already done, obviously. Just I feel like there's so much more potential for both myself as a driver and us as a team, and what I hope that we will be able to accomplish for years to come. And that's kind of why I still feel like this is just such a small part of what I will be able to accomplish, I hope.
Well, okay, let me back it up just a second. Really what I meant by that, Ida, was it's not lost on us when you do research on what you've done to get here. You've got championships over in Europe, but to secure sponsorship, to maintain sponsorship, to go another season, it's difficult to do when you're a new person with no name and no track record in the NHRA. It's unique and should be celebrated.
Yeah, I mean, it is very hard. And the thing is, too, that there's so much that goes into it that I can't even show. I try to take everybody behind the scenes on my social media and show as much as possible. But when it comes down to all of that hard work behind the scenes with the sponsors and with everything that comes with it, it's not something that I am able to share in the same way. So I'm not sure everybody grasps how much work actually goes into that. And honestly, that is some of the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Actually going to the track and racing, obviously that is a big part of what we do, and it's a hard part of it, but it's not the hardest part, in my opinion. The hardest part is being able to actually be out here securing the securing the funding needed, making sure we have sponsors. And I mean, I am not fully funded yet. I do not have a full season in 2025 as it looks right now. I'm still desperately searching for our partners for the future and the right people to work together with, to be able to be out here for a long time. But yeah, you're completely right. There's so much work that goes into that part of it.
So how do you approach a company? I mean, you are a freaking champion, for crying out loud. How do you approach companies in order to say, hey, come on over here, the water's pretty warm in NHRA land?
Yeah, so obviously it's a combination, because everything is tailored to the actual company that you talk to. I feel like it can be very different depending on which company that you're approaching, because some of them, they are very interested in the social media side of things, that type of marketing, or maybe the TV time with Fox that NHRA have, and everything we can offer on that side. But a lot of it is also the business-to-business side and the hospitality. I feel like what NHRA got going with the open pit and us being able to have that access to our fans have given us some of the most loyal fans in the world, I want to say. And that is something that all of our sponsors benefit from greatly. And being able to show them what NHRA has to offer in that way with us and the teams and the pit side hospitality, actually being able to take our sponsors to sit next to the cars when we're working on it, warming it up, talking to us drivers, doing all of that. That's a huge part of it. But also the business to business side. I mean, I have a lot of sponsors that have made some of their biggest deals of the year right in our hospitality track side, either it being with other sponsors that we have where we were able to connect them and make sure that, hey, you got a product, you can supply it, whatever it might be, and be able to get that return on investment that way. But also for them to be able to bring their biggest customers to the races and entertain them in our hospitality, or potential new customers, or whatever it might be. That is something that's had a great impact on the sponsorship, basically contracts that I've had both here in US, but also heavily in Europe. A lot of the contracts I had in Europe, and the reason I was able to run Top Fuel and Super Street Bike and everything I did over there, was a lot of this business to business side. And that is something that, again, a lot of people don't think about when they see sponsors, because they think about that big logo on the car and what they see on TV. But there's so much more to it on the backside, where we can really give that return on investment to these companies that we work with. I rather like to call them partners than sponsors, because it really is a partnership where both of us, benefit from it, and that's exactly how it should be.
Ida, it's coming. It's coming. I mean, your gregarious personality and your successes, past and current, it's coming. Now, you guys are in the midst of the first all-female Nitro team in the NHRA. You and, of course, teammate funny car driver Alexis DeJoria. So naturally, if she has the tequila, you should be sponsored by the mixer. So I think it's coming there in that direction.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, it's really cool that we're able to be the first all-female Nitro team. And it was something that happened, just organically, naturally. I didn't even think about it until the fact that someone told us that we were the first all-female Nitro team. And how cool is that, wasn't that we were out there searching for this to happen. It just kind of happened, and we both think it's so cool. Two badass drivers, and now we get to hit the track together. So.
How do you think you guys can best motivate each other? Have there been some discussions since all this went down, maybe a month or so ago? Have there been some discussions about how you guys can be at track, away from the track, in terms of motivation and encouragement to just kick ass down that drag strip?
I think it's something that can't really be planned. It's something we kind of have to grow into. But I do feel like with us both, I feel like, Alexis showed up in the shop a couple of weeks ago. They got her seat done and everything. We were both there and got to spend some more time together. And I feel like she had such a great energy going into this. And that's exactly how I feel like too. We want this to be successful. We want us to be able to go out there and show what we can do on track. And I feel like that's going to be motivation in itself, having that positivity going into this and be able to, the thing, when you have a funny car and a dragster, you can actually double up on Sunday. You can have your sponsors and team in the winner's circle with both cars. And how cool is that? That's motivating as it is. And I feel like we have both, even though we don't have the same background going into this, we have both fought so hard to be in the spot that we are and to prove that we can do this. And I feel like we know we are good at what we do, and that there's still potential for us to do even better in the sport. Alexis wouldn't be out here chasing her first world championship if she didn't know that she can do it. And I feel the same way. I want to win a championship out here. I want to win multiple championships out here. And with us having that mindset and knowing that we both want to do it, we can do it, that's going to be, I think, a big part of how we can motivate each other.
I think one of the fun parts about getting to know you, Ida, is we'll ask you a question and you'll answer it, whether it might be difficult or not, because that's just you. And finding the right balance in the questions that we ask you are sometimes difficult. But so playing off those heels there, do you feel and I mean this not in jest, but I mean this sincerely, do you feel that it's going to be a lot of these men that you're going to be beating will take offense to these women whipping their ass?
All these guys out here, they've raced alongside girls for years, and I'm sure most of the guys out here, they have been beaten by girls a couple times already. So I don't think that that's going to be anything different. I did feel when I raced the bike over in Europe, and I was basically the first female to win in that class, the first female to win a championship in that class, I did notice that some of those guys, it hurt their ego, I feel like. But I think it's because they weren't used to it. They weren't used to a girl coming in there and actually winning in that class and being really good at it. But even a lot of those guys that might took offense for it in the beginning, they ended up being some of my greatest competitors and actually being really nice to me, because I do think that there was that respect there. They understood how hard I had worked to get to that point. And even though you might not like it when someone else wins, hell, I don't like it when other people win, no matter if you're a girl or a boy. Like, you don't like to be beaten no matter what. But I think that in drag racing in general, that's not a thing. You're so used to girls and boys racing together, and honestly, when you put the helmet on, there's no difference. So,
yes, you nailed it right there. Drag racing has normalized the fact that it's literally just two human beings going against each other, whether it's on motorcycles or pro stock cars or in the nitro class or in the sportsman classes. You are just another human being, and I really appreciate that. And I like that you just brought that up. You clarified it again. It's like, no, it's just another person. Not a big deal.
Do you find yourself from time to time, actually going into Gainesville, thinking about those races that you're not going to race at all? Because, yes, you want to run a full season, Ida. I get that. I know you got to concentrate on Gainesville, but where do you draw the line on thinking about what you want to be doing for the rest of the year versus really where it's set right now with, what is it, 10 races?
Yeah, that is a tricky part of it right now, because obviously being someone that really wants to race the whole year, finding the funding for it and focusing on filling in that schedule, and especially for finding the money to race, full seasons for years to come. It's not just this year that is on my mind. It does take a lot of my mental space, and it does take up a lot of what I'm doing, during the days. But I'm trying to find a balance between still working super hard on that and also focusing on the races that I'm going to make sure that I can actually be out here and be the best driver, the best, teammate, and the best representative for all my sponsors and everything. So I don't want my mind to be completely eaten up by that when I go into a race. But I think that's something that this year that I'm going to have to work on more, just because it's hard to leave that outside. When you go into a race weekend, you're trying to have full focus on that actual race. But I just feel like if you knew that you have a full season ahead of you, your mind space might be a little bit different, because then you're focusing on trying to win a championship. And I am focusing on chasing dollars instead of just chasing wallies and championships,
Ooh, man. Yeah, if there's a way that you could like cut that off on a Thursday and then John Schaefer becomes your man. And what is that relationship like with you and John? And what did you guys learn last year? How can he help to take that pressure off of you when it comes to race weekends so you can just focus on the strip?
I feel like we work really well together. I feel like last year, I'm really happy that we actually were able to come here and be here for the full year with the team before I started racing. Because if I would have just, flown here a week or two before my first race, or when we were going to test or whatever, I wouldn't have gotten to know the people around me the same way. And seeing John build our team last year and everything that went into that was a, tremendous amount of work. I think it made our relationship as crew chief and driver a lot stronger, and I got to be part of a lot of that work. And I feel like that's something that's actually going to help us a whole lot on track. I feel like even last year, going into it, the first weekend in Brainerd, we performed really well, and we were under a lot of stress. We didn't have a lot of runs on that car, but we had that trust. And, I know that he's going to give me the best car I can out here. And the same way, I feel like I've only, scratched the surface of my driving ability. I know that there's so much more that he feels like he can do with this car and our team too. When we get more runs in, we get the actual parts that we want to have in place, everything that comes with it. And even going testing last week, I feel like we saw more potential, coming into place there. And I feel like having a good crew chief and driver relationship has always been very important to me in any class I've always raced in, because I do feel like it's a big advantage on track, and I feel like we will have that advantage, and I feel really good about working with him. So
It was really cool seeing you guys last year, Brainerd setting a mark and then increasing that in Charlotte and then increasing it yet again at the season finale in Pomona. So what's one of the initial targets, the initial goals out of the gate in 2025 that you guys really want to hammer home?
So qualifying higher is is really high up on our list, because last year we did qualify in the bottom half every race except for one. One of our biggest things last year was we wanted to qualify for every race, because we know that coming in at the last part of the season, there's a lot of cars and everybody basically got their shit together. So it's hard to even qualify. We saw some really heavy hitters on the outside, but we qualified for every race. And I think we averaged like a 13 position or something like that. And obviously we want to get higher. We did end up 8th one of the races, but every race last year, we had to race a world champion or a multi-time world champion on the first round. Every race. So that's the thing. We feel like we want to obviously start qualifying higher. So the thing is right now, everybody's heavy hitters. Like, not gonna say anything about that, because the thing is that even when there's 20 cars, you don't know which cars won't qualify, and you can win from either 16 or second. So I'm not saying that's automatically going to help us to qualify better, but that's definitely one of the things that we're working hard at, to trying to up that. And and be in the top half of the qualifying sheet on Sundays. But also, obviously, we wanted more round wins. Like that's obviously what everybody's working towards. And we did come out strong last year, but then we were struggling a little bit at the end of the year where we lost several rounds by like a couple of thousands on like something really small. And that's where we're trying to pick up. We need a little better performance on those things, and I need to do a little better as a driver on the tree, or just being one with the car a little more, where I feel like I have potential to tap into. And I think if we can do that, that duo and that combo is going to work really well for us.
Ida Zetterstrom joining us here in the Freak Nation. And Ida, when we talked at St. Louis last year, one of the questions we asked you was about cursing. And what's your favorite curse word in the helmet or outside the helmet? He said, you gave us some examples, but it's more cursing at yourself. Have you gotten any freer about cursing at other people?
No, I did some cursing yesterday. We went mini golfing and I absolutely sucked. But I cursed a lot in Swedish, so at least people around me didn't know I was cursing. But it was, again, cursing at myself and a little bit at that mini golf ball. But I don't really curse at other people. The thing is, I'm a perfectionist in the way where I want everything that I'm doing to be perfect. And if it's not, I get really mad at myself. I don't get mad at other people. I know we're all human, and I am the first to say if someone else, messes up on something, saying, hey, that's normal, that's what happens, and that's how we learn, and now we're not going to do it again. I just have a hard time saying that to myself and, don't thinking about it and drop it. I know exactly that's not good. I know you shouldn't carry around if you get mad at yourself for doing something. You need to know why you did it. Don't do it again and drop it. It's easier to say said than done when it's about yourself, though. But no, I do. If you hear me cursing, it's at myself.
Do you allow yourself to go to bed mad, or do you fix whatever the problem is in your mind before your head hits the pillow?
That's a good question. I try to not go to bed mad. Obviously, some days that's harder said than done, but I do try. I know that carrying around stuff, if you mess up, whatever it might be on the track or whatever, it's not healthy to carry it with you because you can't fix it. It's already done. So it's like you need to for me, it's important to localize why I do things. If there's something I have messed up or something I could have done better, I want to know why I did it wrong and how I can do it better the next time. And for me, that's the biggest part of it. When I can localize those things, I can drop it easier because I know why, but that's kind of, for me, if it's something I've been thinking about for a long time, it's if I can't figure out why stuff happens. That lingers longer for me.
There's the message to all the girls out there on Women's History Month, on International Women's Day. Yeah, figure out what happened and how to not let it happen again and move forward and be better because of it.
Boom.
Yeah.
There you go. You just nailed it on your whole thought processes there.
All right, Ida, to round this off, if you've got 10 races scheduled for 2025, kicking it off with Gainesville, can you rattle off all 10 of those races? You say you're a perfectionist. Can you rattle them off what you're supposed to race this year?
All right, yeah. We're starting off in Gainesville, then we're doing Phoenix and Pomona, then we're doing, let's see, Charlotte. We are doing, I messed this up because I should have said the ones we're not doing too, because that always
Exactly.
We're doing Bristol, we're doing, let's see, we're doing Sonoma, we're doing Indy, Maple Grove, Texas, and Pomona, the last one. Yeah, that was 10. That took longer than I should have. I should have just rattled on and said, we're doing this one, we're not doing that one, because I do know the schedule like that.
Well, we've got
that's our schedule as it looks right now. We're hoping we can add more. Obviously, there's so many tracks. I want to go through them all because we want to chase the championship, but there's also so many tracks where I feel like I really want to race that. I mean, Brainerd being one of them, because obviously we had our debut there last year. It was a track that I feel like carries a lot of memories for me now. Right now it's not on our schedule, but we're definitely hoping that we can add it later on, and together with more of these races, obviously.
Not only do we live in Phoenix, but it holds a special place in our heart. Our daughter was 2-3 months old when she met Alexis at Phoenix, and she pooped her pants, and it got on Alexis's shirt a little bit. So we have, We'll bring Henley out to meet you. She's 11 years old, and she stopped pooping a long time ago in her
Well,
parents'
yeah,
event.
that sounds good. Yeah.
Well, Kenny didn't even put the bow on that story. He didn't even wrap it up appropriately
that's right.
because, yes, our daughter got a little messy on Alexis, but Alexis went on to win that Phoenix race. So guess what? There's a little bit of luck in that.
Yeah. Well, she sounds like a lucky charm. Definitely bring her over.
Yep. SpeedFreaks mojo. It works. Ask Ron Capps. It works every time.
We'll do it.
Hey, Ida, I know it's been difficult to keep this freaking interview going over the last 30 minutes or so. Thank you for doing this. Good luck to you in Gainesville. We wouldn't hate to get you back in here as a winner, okay?
Yeah, I agree. Let's do that. That sounds good.